Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Sunday, August 23rd. So today is Sunday Funday, which means that we will do absolutely no news, and it's all going to be fun and interesting stories. As you know, we do this on Sundays so that we can charge energy, so that we can deal with the news and the stories for the rest of the week. If this is your first time, please don't hold it against us. Please, please, please. We might get a little rowdy. Nothing is sacred. No one is safe. It is Sunday, and we decide that Sundays are just for fun. As always, it's a pleasure to see familiar faces joining us most every day, and some faces that we haven't seen for a while. And if you happen to be new, again, don't hold it against us if we get a little bit silly. And let us know that you're new by writing the word new in the comments section so that we can give you a proper welcome. Good morning, David. Good morning, Michal. Yay, Sunday Funday. Joey, we had so much fun with you guys yesterday, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Mario, we hadn't seen you in a while, indeed, but it's great to see you today. From all over the place, Jorge's watching from New York City, of course. And Karen is in hot and steamy Minnesota. This is awesome. Liz is back home at Whitby. I don't know where Whitby is, but I hope it's a wonderful place. I hope you got home safe and sound. Of course, Marcia is watching from Puerto Vallarta, like many of us are here in town. Thank you for the comments on the palm trees, Kathleen. Last week, somebody suggested, why not try a different background for Sunday Funday? And here it is. We might switch that around to something else as we move on. Great to see all of you. Today, we are going to focus on 3 specific stories. I want to tell you about the wonderful mini getaway we had yesterday at Las Animas beach, south of Puerto Vallarta. And I'm going to answer some questions that I noticed you brought up in the comments yesterday. We're also going to take a look at some interesting movie cameos, some unexpected ones. And we're also going to look at what happens when the news are not that newsworthy. So we will talk about not specific headlines, but what process do we go through when it's time to choose news, and what do we do when news are just too crazy to share here at Coffee and Headlines. So it is great to see you. We might as well get started. As I mentioned yesterday, it was a day to go to Las Animas beach. We did this largely because of your comments. Your comments showed that many folks were not familiar with Las Animas. You wanted to get to know more about it. Let me tell you, if you haven't been to Las Animas beach, you are not an English-speaking local. It's that simple. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as an invitation. Las Animas Beach is one of a handful of beachfront destinations south of Puerto Vallarta within Banderas Bay that you can only get to by boat. So it's not like you can expect big civilizations there or the latest Starbucks or anything. In fact, These are very secluded, tiny, tiny little villas with the very basic essentials. There's a handful of them. They're all slightly different. I personally love Las Animas because it's the closest one to Puerto Vallarta. So you can get there by boat, or you can also hike to it from Boca de Tomatlan. And it's peaceful, it's quiet, the beach is wonderful, the water is yummy to swim in. And so this was a great, great adventure to do. I don't know if you've ever done it, but let me tell you the blow by blow. Again, you can get to Las Animas either by boat or hiking. The boat you can catch either at Los Muertos Pier, or you can probably go to Boca de Tomatlan, where there's water taxis available as well. If you have a car, you probably want to drive your car to Boca de Tomatlan, park it there, and then just hop on the water taxi. The water taxi is going to be less expensive from there. And it is quite possible that you have more choices on when to leave. When you take the water taxi from Los Muertos Pier, it's quite convenient because, you know, if you live in the vicinity or if you took an Uber to get there, it's quite easy to just get on and off the boat. It's a little bit more expensive to get from Los Muertos Pier, of course. We paid about, I think it was like 360 or 380 pesos round trip. And these prices vary with the season. Some seasons they're more expensive, some seasons usually they're more expensive when there's more tourism in town. I thought the price seemed a little bit of expensive, but chances are that they're, you know, making it a little more expensive because of coronavirus. It really didn't bother to me to spend a little bit more money because I figured, you know, these folks need the work, they need the money, they need the economy to move back and forth. And then, of course, there's a hiking option. If you want to hike to Las Animas, you do so from Boca de Tomatlan. It's a very popular hike. It takes between 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending on your pace. And it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, it's not a difficult hike, but it's not a very user-friendly hike. So you want to be mindful of that. And of course, if you decide to hike, you always want to hike with somebody that has done it before, and you definitely don't want to hike by yourself. That is just basic common sense. So again, taking the boat from Los Muertos Pier was very simple because, you know, it was a big boat. Some people asked me about whether there were a lot of people on the boat or not. And of course, you know, these are very secluded destinations, so it is not surprising to see the boats being loaded with provisions and groceries and stuff like that. Most towns that are in the South Shore, you can only get to them by boat. There is a road that connects Lapa from El Tuito, but that can be a difficult road to handle unless you have like an SUV. It's a dirt road, so I mean, I definitely don't recommend it in any way unless you're truly familiar with the territory. So once the boat was completely loaded, we just took off. As you could see, the boat was not very packed. This happened to be a very large boat, so we were quite comfortable. And we took off from Los Muertos Beach, and it took about 30 to 35 minutes to get from Los Muertos Beach to Las Animas. We were fortunate in a way that there wasn't a stop at Boca de Tomatlan, so we simply headed all the way down to Las Animas, and then the boat continued on to Lapa. And once you get to Las Animas, there's a pier, and there are places to eat to the left of the pier and places to eat to the right of the pier. I usually like to go to the right, and I like to go specifically to this particular place. It's called Troncons, and they are on Facebook. I'll share the Facebook links once I put together the whole video with all the photos. This is just a quick and dirty selection. What I like about Troncons, as opposed to some of the other Palapa-style restaurants, is that it was built more sturdily. It feels more like a real restaurant as opposed to just a Palapa thing. And, you know, I don't know if you're funny about going to the bathroom in bathrooms that are less than civilized. The bathrooms at this place are great. And this place is a two-story place we were quite surprised to find that they were expecting a bunch of people coming in on some of the boats later on. So they offered us to sit on the upstairs level. They set up a special place for the six of us. So we had our whole restaurant to ourselves. Needless to say, well, this happened. This happened. Of course, whenever I'm out and about, I have to bring accessories. And of course, I accessorized. And yes, that is lovely little me in my beachfront face mask glow attire. Needless to say, my dear friend Paul was there, and Paul can easily be challenged to make a statement like that. So Paul immediately joined in on the fun. And of course, at the restaurant, we ordered cocktails and food and cocktails and cocktails and food and cocktails. So we had a lovely time. Eventually, our friends Joey and Isaac caught up with us, who had been hiking. So we were all hanging out up there. And this is the view that we had from the second story of the restaurant. As you can see, there's a fair amount of activity going on. Each one of these palapas offers essentially the same kind of menu, Mexican menu. They will all want to have you sit at their palapa, and usually what I say to them is, well, I know where I like to go. But again, you can barely see over here. That would be part of right before Los Arcos, and you cannot see it on this actual image, but a little bit to the left, you can actually see Puerto Vallarta. It was a clear day. The water was yummy to swim. Usually the water is it's very sandy right at the restaurant that I'd like to spend the day at. But yesterday it was a little bit rocky. It's Mother Nature. It's what happens when you're there. And I think, do I have another photo? No. That's essentially what I have for now. I took more photos. I took more video. But I wanted to give you just a little bit of a look into some of the adventure that we had yesterday. Let me take a quick look at your comments to see if there's any questions that I can address. Good morning, Eric. I hope you guys are all replenished from yesterday. I had a great time hanging out with you guys. And let's see, going to the beach as well today after watching Paco, of course. Oh, that's very nice, Terry. Interesting. I'd be interesting to know, Terry, how are the turtle release programs going on in Nuevo Vallarta, since I assumed you guys are going to the beach up there. If there are any that you can recommend, it would be wonderful to know. What was the price? Was that price $380 per person? Yes, it was per person. Round trip, which again I've paid much less, but that said, I hadn't taken the boat from Los Muertos Pier in quite some time, so I really couldn't tell you if that was fair or unfair, but I think it is absolutely affordable. And then, once we got to the restaurant, I had, what did I have? I had like a fish in white sauce with rice and vegetables, and I think we ended up we drank a fair amount of booze, so I think we ended up spending like 900 pesos per person at the beach restaurant just for the day. Of course, there were pies. The pie ladies always come by and sell you slices of pie. So if you think about it, you end up spending whatever you spent to get to Los Muertos Pier plus 380 pesos plus another 800, 900 or thereabouts for food. So, it's a 1,400 peso day. It's not inexpensive, but it's not expensive either. And it's totally worth it. Now, something to keep in mind. Usually, I like to get there as early as possible, but now that we're doing coffee and headlines, we finished at 11 and I just dashed to the pier. But if you ever wanted to go, I would recommend taking the earliest possible boat so that you can make the most of your day while you're there. Let's see. Thank you for your comments for our outfits. We love to accessorize. It's fun. I've heard horror stories about the restroom situation. Could you please enlighten us on that? I don't know that I've ever heard horror stories about the restroom situation, so I don't know what you've heard, Jorge. Some restrooms are just cleaner than others, and I don't know about you, but I like to go do my deed in a clean restaurant. But if you've heard horror stories, I would be curious as to what these horror stories are about. Perhaps you can comment more on that, because I cannot enlighten about something that I don't know. I think I just answered this, Renee. And another friend of mine had coconut shrimp, and some friends had enchiladas. I mean, it's just a really basic, fun menu, and it was again, out and about in a place like Las Animas. I don't expect culinary bedazzlement of any kind. It was perfectly wonderful, though. It was really, really good. um COVID prices, yeah, everybody's trying to survive, and I was really, really happy that we were there, and they were happy to greet us. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful day altogether. Now, I want to switch channels, and I want to tell you a little bit about what happens when the news don't make the cut. Oh, another question. Here we go. Where do you go to pay and find the when the boat leaves from the Los Muertos Pier? There is a small office on the street of the pier. If you're walking towards the pier and you've just passed Archie's Walk on the left side, there is a little office, and that's where you get information and prices, and you buy the tickets. Now, as you approach the pier, a lot of people that are walking about will try to sell you water taxis to go here, there, and everywhere. Eventually, all the money goes to the same cooperative of boats. So technically, it doesn't make a difference whether you buy your ticket from somebody that was trying to sell it out and about, or whether you go to the little office. Personally, I like to go to the little office because it's the little office. Somehow I feel more comfortable talking to the guy that is at the office. I don't know for a fact if the people that are walking out and about get a commission or what happens. And now, hold on. It went away. I thought it was going to sneeze. Oops. I thought I was going to sneeze, and it went away. So anyhow, I thought, I hope I answered the question about the thing at the pier. Of course, if you are at Boca de Tomatlan, you can just get close to any boats, and most people know what's going on. Okay, so now we switch gears. You can continue to ask questions about Las Animas if you want, but I want to tell you another story. This has to do with how I go about selecting news to share with you and headlines to share with you. So, what happens usually, and I've mentioned this before, or maybe I haven't, is when you go to a website, you can go to a specific website. Like, say, if I go to the New York Times, you can go through the website and look at the art section, or look at the culture section, or the international section, or whatever it is that you're interested in. And then you can switch to the next one, and so forth and so on. I usually go through 20 or 25 websites to gather the headlines that we end up selecting for Coffee and Headlines. But this would be a very cumbersome, very time-consuming procedure if it wasn't for RSS. RSS is a technology, internet technology, that allows you to look just at the headlines in a basic excerpt of all the news that are available on any given time. So if you look at this software that I use to look at RSS, you can see that here are all the papers that I usually read, and all the sources. And the way these work is you end up scrolling rather through all these little headlines and mini descriptions, and it is here that I decide what it is that we're going to enjoy in Coffee and Headlines. But the difference between browsing the websites directly and going through RSS like I just showed you is that as I said before, when you look at the websites directly, you can actually decide to look for this section of the website or the other. Whereas when you're looking at RSS, the news show up chronologically. So when the news showed up chronologically, you can end up with a headline that has to do with important international news, followed by another headline that has to do with beauty and makeup. So in that regard, it is also a little bit time consuming to go through the news. And what I want to do is I want to show you some headlines that I've seen in the last week or so that just made me roll my eyes and figured, no, we don't need to go there during coffee and headlines. Let's start with this one. This says, guide to walk in heels and not die trying. I don't think we needed that one. This other one says, 6 natural remedies to prevent or reduce gray hairs. I didn't think I wanted to share that either. Meet the breeds of the dog breeds that are forbidden in some countries. I didn't even know that some would be forbidden, but others wouldn't be. But I thought that was just very strange. Here's another one. Get this. What happens if you eat raw garlic without having had breakfast? I mean, I didn't even click on that. I was like, who cares? I mean, what could possibly happen if you eat raw garlic right before breakfast without having anything in your stomach? Who knew that this was important? What about this one? Revealed, this is the ideal haircut for all kinds of face shapes. Well, I have my ideal haircut because it's the only one I can get. And I don't know that I wanted to share that with you, honestly. Madonna's daughter causes controversy in social media when she shows her armpit hair. Again, I thought maybe we have more important things to talk about. Now, by the way, if any of these topics are important to you, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to bring them on next time I see them. This one says, oh, this one was too much for me. This happened in Japan. Unbelievable. Woman decides to clean the room of her missing brother and finds a skeleton. Okay, I don't think so. Oh, this is really funny. Burning love. Man climbs to the Popocatépetl, that's a volcano, to ask for his girlfriend's hand in marriage. The Popocatépetl is a volcano outside of Mexico City that is always burning. So I don't know who on earth would want to go up a burning volcano to ask someone for marriage. Clickbait, says Logan, absolutely true. Gross, says Jorge, absolutely true. Let's see what else we got. Boom, boom, bum, 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 bum. Holy Dr. Child and other saints that protect Mexicans against COVID-19. With all due respect to religious types, I am a science dude, so again, we skipped through that one. And clothes that will make you look thinner in a heartbeat. I've tried that before in my life, and there's no there's no such thing. So we didn't share that one either. And this is the last one. What is being said in Mexico about the eclipse that will help you lose weight? Yes, you heard that right. What is being said in Mexico about the eclipse that will help you lose weight? What the fuck? So, no, we didn't include that one, and we didn't include any of these. But I thought you would appreciate a little bit of what goes on into the selection of all these headlines that I share with you. Let me switch over and set up the last segment that I want to show you, and I'll take a quick look at your comments to see if we're missing anything. Boom. Let's see. I haven't been to the beach, but is there also a town? If you're referring to Las Animas, Karen, there is no such thing. There is no town. I mean, I'm sure that some of the people that work on the restaurants have little casitas behind them and they sleep there, or at least somebody watches over it. There's a small number of properties that one might be able to to rent. And in fact, when you hike from Boca de Tomatlan to Las Animas, you pass through at least one boutique hotel, Casitas Maraica, and you pass through a couple of private properties that you can actually find on Airbnb, but there is no town to speak of. Whereas in Lapa, as Logan comments, there is more of a town with shops and whatnot. Sebastian says, Saluditos, Sebastian. I am editing your photos today or tomorrow, I promise. Jules asks, what is a good donation amount? I don't know if this is related to some other comment, so I don't know that I can answer this very, very accurately. Gross, clickbait, we talked about that. Okay, oh my God, how romantic. Not about the volcano. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let me show you my last little thingy that I wanted to share for you today. And I'm going to apologize. This is not turning out to be a very irreverent chingonario type day, but that's okay. We don't have to be filthy potty mouthed every single Sunday. And today we're definitely not going to go there because we don't have to. I recently rewatched The Truman Show. The Truman Show is on Netflix, and I love that movie. And what I love about it is that it's first of all, it's amazing. I've seen it a number of times. I certainly hope that you've seen The Truman Show because it is truly an extraordinary film, and it says a lot of things about today's world, particularly what we're going through right now. And there is this one scene that I love about The Truman Show, and it is when Christoph, who's like right here in the middle, can I click on Christoph? I don't know that I can show you my arrow. Can I show you my arrow? Yes, I can show you my arrow. Of course, I can show you my arrow. There's Christoph. He has just been interviewed by a news reporter about The Truman Show. And at this point in the movie, Truman is peacefully sleeping. Of course, he's on air. He's been watched since the day he was born, and now he's married. He has a wife, or he is with someone. Are they married? Yes, they are married. And of course, there is the lonely piano player sitting here playing the soundtrack of the show, which is just a melodic piano piece. And I'd love to ask you, and Kathleen, you cannot answer this question because we had this conversation just a couple of days ago. Do you know who is this man playing the piano? And I'm going to sip my coffee just in case you do. Okay, I'm back. You don't know who is playing the piano? I will tell you who is that sitting down playing the piano. It is none other than American composer. Let me just take that back. It's none other than the extraordinary American composer Philip Glass performing his own music for the soundtrack of the movie. And I didn't find that out in my first watching. I found it out many years after the fact. But yes, that is Philip Glass. So that got me thinking, what are the great cameos in film and television? And I put together a small collection of them to share with you today, which include Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. This is not about extraordinary movies necessarily. This is just about people that transform themselves into other characters. That would be Tom Cruise doing a cameo. We know cameos to be short, memorable appearances of important or famous people in movies, and they're usually non-credited, and that would be Tom Cruise in this case. That would be Keith Richards on the left side. Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones performs the pirate's father's role on Pirates of the Caribbean 5, which was a lot of fun. That's not the only cameo in these movies. Paul McCartney was also a pirate in one of the movies, and there he is as Paul McCartney, and there he is as a pirate. And there's something about these movies with pirates where everybody wants to be a cameo. That would be Glenn Close playing a bearded pirate in Hook, which is the movie about Peter Pan. I believe it was Steven Spielberg that directed this. Other unexpected cameos. We have Mike Myers in Bohemian Rhapsody. And this is really funny because in the movie, he plays an EMI Records executive that is listening to Bohemian Rhapsody as it was just recorded by Queen, and he's saying, "This is horrible. There's no way anybody is going to be bopping heads while listening to this music," which is an interesting comment because Mike Myers, in his Saturday Night Live character of Wayne's World, all they ever do is listen to Bohemian Rhapsody and they bop their heads. So there you go. Another one, that would be Johnny Depp on the movie adaptation of 21 Jump Street, playing an old bearded dude. As you know, Johnny Depp originated the role in the television series, and when the series was turned into a film, he came back, but obviously completely disguised. I'm loving the fact that you are surprised at some of these cameos. Logan says Glenn Close was in Hook. There you have it. And there's a bunch of them. Marcy asks, is the Truman Show on Netflix? Yes, it is. There you have it. Let me keep going because I think I have a few more. Bam, ba-ding, bam, boom. I give you Elon Musk in the Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory has had a bunch of really amazing cameos. And Elon Musk, we know him for being the founder of Tesla and for sending all these Starlink satellites to space around Earth for this worldwide internet thing that they're doing that is also making it fastidious for astronomers to enjoy the clear sky without seeing all these satellites now going around the Earth. And that is what I have for you in terms of cameos. There are so many more. I find it really fascinating to look at all these cameos, and it's part of the fun research that I like to do. And this, my friends, is Coffee and Headlines Sunday Funday edition. I hope you were entertained, and I hope you had a good time looking at some of those. Ernesto adds, Mike Myers is in Inglourious Bastards. This is true. There are many lists. And it's fun to look for them on the internet. If you look for movie cameos on Google, you will find all kinds of different lists, and it is fascinating to look at. Tomorrow we'll have our regular Coffee and Headlines. In the morning, we will be looking at what our Governor Enrique Alfaro has to say about the latest COVID numbers, as we do every Monday. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we will enjoy pre-recorded Coffee and Headlines as I am going on vacation. The Tuesday edition is already up on Facebook, and I have already shared the link with you, and I will be glad to share the link again. And I'll be working on the pre-recorded version for Wednesday today. The Tuesday edition features my walking tour along Isa Rio Quale and a couple of other things. And the Wednesday will be a strictly music-related content. We're going to look at some music that has really touched me in the last few days and weeks, and I'll be sharing it with you with a bunch of YouTube links for you to explore on your own time. As you know, we cannot play music live without getting into copyright problems. But that will be the deed. If I am in San Sebastián del Oeste and I'm able to go live from over there, I'll be happy to say hello. But otherwise, I will be collecting a lot of audio and photos and video so that we can put together a quick and dirty update on what's going on in San Sebastián these days. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy a wonderful Sunday. I hope you will go out and enjoy the day and stay safe, stay calm, stay happy, stay inspired, stay curious, stay curious. Give yourself the opportunity to go out and explore our destination if you are here in Puerto Vallarta. And if you're not, keep missing this wonderful place that we live in and hopefully come back sometime soon. We're always happy to have you back wherever you are. Have a great day.